If you nail the entrance to turn 2 at Thunderhill perfectly, you approached it cresting a hill at full throttle with your front tire lofted in the air and you were loving life. Now let's say you got the bike stopped, you got the bike leaned on its side, and you made the entrance. Let's say that happened. Now what do? Turn 2 at Thunderhill is like a quarter of a mile long. It's 180 degrees. You are in it forever. What do you do all that time? Do you ride reactively and just wait for the exit? Or do you ride proactively with a plan? I'll tell you what, I have a plan and I have a secret about turn 2 at Thunderhill. And it's not about how fast you go. It's about how slow you go and exactly where. Want to know what it is? I'll tell you. I'm Gogo for Superduked.com. Now let's have some fun riding motorcycles fast. Feels like we're making some traction with this channel, and for that I thank you for the likes, the subscribes, and the comments. Believe it or not, I learned things from you guys, and I appreciate you. It's inspiring. So let's talk about this turning stuff. There's a strategy that you hear people talk about for years. People have been saying it. Kenny Roberts wrote it in a book. You got to go slow to go fast. And that's a general statement, and it's generally true. But the real trick is knowing where to go slow and why to go slow and what else to do when you go slow, right? It's not just go slow to go fast. It's you have jobs to do. If you ride proactively, I use that word a lot. Like if you ride with a plan, whether it's the street or the track, in a race, whatever. If you have more success as a rider, if you actually have a plan. Like I could take you for a walk through a turn or around a track, and anywhere you said, let's say you clapped your hands, stop, freeze. Where are you on the track and why? Not only can I tell you where I am and tell you why I'm there, like how I got there, but I can tell you why I'm there because what I'm about to do. And what I'm about to do is really because of what's up the road over there and setting up for over there. Like having a plan means you're many, many steps ahead of what you do. So it's not just going slow to go fast. It's going slow so that you can do something else more exaggerated while you're going that slow so you can get the bike turned the way you need to turn. In this case, what I do, and if you watch MotoGP, I love watching MotoGP because some riders are much more like, it's more obvious what they're doing with their bodies, with their mechanics. If you watch Dani Pedrosa in the past, you could see like he would go through a turn and then there was like this snap of the fingers where boop, all of a sudden he would pick the bike up. It was almost like a drummer, like the beat of a song. And when the drummer hit the cymbal, boop, Dani Pedrosa would stand the bike up, and that was like his drive. So how was he able to stand the bike up? What did he do just before that? I think I know what he did because I know what I do. So turn 2 at Thunderhill is a great example because if you watch the onboard footage that I based this video on and a few past videos with the data and the speeds and the throttle position and all this stuff, there's really valuable stuff there. Not because I'm some brilliant rider, but I'm somewhat successful, but because you can see evidence. Like a lot of times I've talked about riding in the past, but it's mostly been based on like feel, not really much data to show you to back it up. But this onboard footage, it's all right there. You can see it. There's no hiding anything. And for the first time, I can say, you see, this is what I'm talking about. This is where I do what I do. And here's what I would have told you if you asked me a year ago. What is your plan for turn 2 at Thunderhill? It's 180 degrees, so it's go in straight, come out straight, and a simple horseshoe of a turn. What's so tricky about that? I mean, all turns have an apex, right? So if this is your turn, you come in wide, you hit the apex, you go out wide. Pretty simple, right? So if Thunderhill is a horseshoe, enter wide, come into the most narrow part, and exit wide, right? No, that's not the way I do turn two. That's not the way Doug Chandler does turn two. That's not the way quite a few people that I know who are very good riders break that turn down with a bit of a plan. I think of turn two as a triangle. If you asked me a year ago what I do, this is what I would say to you. Turn two is a triangle. I spend half the turn getting the bike in, scrubbing off speed, like very gently, letting the front tire find its way, and I'm scrubbing off speed, I'm scrubbing off speed, till I get to that point, the point of the triangle, where the bike is going the slowest. And at that slowest point, I have the most traction available, right? That is where I do the most of my turn. I take advantage of that slower speed to turn the bike as much as I can. And right after that point, bing, the drummer hits the cymbal. Dani Pedrosa stands up, and it's time to drive out. You wouldn't see me stand a bike up like that. I'm not talented like Dani Pedrosa, but I definitely put body English into the bike, and I'm definitely more weighting the outside peg and getting the bike to stand up more to drive out. Because the way I feel is, if you're on a bike, my 2 feet are on the foot pegs, right? And I'm weighting the pegs like this, and I'm sitting, I'm leaned off to the side, and here we go. If my weight is on the inside peg as I'm driving out, when I break traction, all that weight is going to push the bike down. It's going to fall out. It's going to slide sideways, and then I'm going to high side. If my weight is on the outside peg, right, and traction starts to slide, it feels to me much more friendly. It feels to me like the bike will drift sideways. It won't fall over, because it's not like I've got 600 pounds on the inside. The weight is out here. Kind of like a sailboat when you have the guys hanging off the side and they're kind of fighting the wind. It's kind of like you have ballast. So I put my weight there and kind of stand the bike up like this. And if it breaks traction, it just goes sideways. And then you exit. So that is one part of driving out of the turn that will help you. But the key here really is to choose the point where you go the slowest, purposefully, and do the most amount of your turn right there. Now, Thunderhills, if you looked at it from a helicopter and you looked at my line, you wouldn't see a triangle. This is an interesting thing about data. In my mind, it's a triangle. If you were in a helicopter watching me ride with my mind, you wouldn't see a point. You'd see me go in at the first apex, fade out, and then go into the final apex. There's 2 apexes in this long arc of a turn. There's tracks like this all over the world with these long horseshoe-shaped turns. So I approach turns like that to 2 apexes. You clip one going in, you fade out. I'm still scrubbing off speed. Believe it or not, that first apex, I approach that first apex almost straight. And as I pass that apex, I let go of the brakes, and I just kind of let the bike drift out. I don't really feel like I have great front traction yet. I don't really feel like I'm so confident with the front. I'm just neutral on the bars, letting the bike find its own way, letting the front tire find its own way. I don't want to overpower anything. I learned this from Randy Renfro, who told me at this private thing we did one time at Loudon back on the East Coast. Randy said, when you're braking, when you're trail braking, and you're entering a turn, and all of a sudden you start to feel like you're losing the front, you're losing traction, don't freak out. Randy said, just let the bars go. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Let the bike go. I didn't really understand. I didn't learn what he was really saying till 25 years later. Finally, when it really set in, I was like, That's what Randy was talking about. So I couldn't feel it until I don't have one here, the super clamp, which it's much stronger. It keeps the forks better aligned. You don't have this twisting and tweaking, and you're inputting the bars, and the front tire is pointing this way. It's much more confidence inspiring, much better feel. So once I started to have real triple clamps that had good feel and good feedback, that's when I started to understand, like, oh, that's what people are talking about when they're drifting the front. You can't do things like that with really wiggly parts and stuff. But so that was a stepping stone for me. Having better triple clamps for me helped me understand the front way better. So now I get a feel for this neutral kind of blurry zone when you enter the turn. So I approach turn 2. I'm on the brakes really heavy. Here I come to the apex, and I'm letting go of the brake as I'm going past that apex, and I'm counter steering in, and now I just go neutral. Just go neutral and let the bike drift. And the bike drifts. I'm already back on the throttle, right? But I'm not accelerating. I just don't want to have all the weight still on the nose, decelerating. It's a long turn. I need to keep speed up. But I'm not accelerating. I'm not going faster and faster and faster. I'm still decelerating. I just don't want to decelerate that fast. So I lean the bike on the side and crack into the throttle. Maybe 15%, maybe 20% throttle as I'm going through. But if you look at my miles per hour through turn 2, it's like, I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe it's 80 miles an hour, and then it's 79, then it's 78 or 76, and then 75. And I'm still going around this long horseshoe, and the entrance passed me a half mile ago, it feels like, and I'm still slowing down. I'm still entering that turn. Even though I've been in the thing for a half mile, it feels like I'm still entering. Then finally, at not the middle, it's really more skewed. It's like at the 75% point, there's a certain distance where the bike is going the slowest. And in that space of the bike going the slowest, I'm putting the most input into turning. It's almost feel like I pick the bike up, turn it, put it back down, and then start the drive. So it's like all the emphasis of the turn, the most intense turning force that I can generate happens right there at the slowest point. Then we start the drive. And you can hear the throttle. It starts pretty early. And as I start to drive and I'm putting weight on the outside peg and I'm starting to drive out like this, the bike going faster and faster. And then I hit the apex, the final apex, and drive out. The only way to have that drive, to be able to drive that hard and not high side, is because I rode with a plan. I was proactive about it. A lot of racers, a lot of track day people, a lot of people, even things you see on YouTube when people crash exiting turns, they'll go around, and here comes the end of the turn, right? So this is where you got to accelerate because you're at the end of the turn. Okay, so they start to accelerate, but their bike's still leaned over. They're still turning. They never actually got most of the turn done in any one place. They just kind of turned a little bit, and now they're at the exit where everyone else is starting to accelerate, and they're still turning a little bit, and they start to accelerate. And what happens? Tire comes out, bike falls in a little bit, catches, and high sides. Either they low side or they high side. And those are the crashes where you get hurt. That's right. You break your wrists, you break your ankles, you go flying in the air. It's not cool. But most of the reasons that people high side on turns, track day people, and even in street, is because you never actually turned the bike. You never actually picked the spot that you were going to go the slowest. And in that spot, when you were going the slowest, you turned the bike. Now you start the drive. You got to pick your spot and you got to do something at that spot. I'll give you another example, another racetrack. At Buttonwillow, Okay, I have data I can share with you right now. My data at Buttonwillow. This is from a lap I did, a 49.3, I think, a minute 49.3. Which, if you can go under a minute 50 at Buttonwillow, you are riding a motorcycle fast. Good things are happening. You should be proud of yourself. So this lap, if you look at this lap or any lap, any data that I have, you can like it. But I'm just gonna use this one because I'm the proudest of it. There's a turn in the back section, which is another long turn, kind of like the horseshoe at Thunderhill, but it's not a horseshoe. It's even more of a turn. A little, I think it feels like it. But this is unique because you enter it on a straightaway, you go around this turn, and you don't exit on a straightaway like Thunderhill's turn. You actually exit into a series of S turns. So the exit of this turn is so critical that you have to be able to accelerate really hard out of it. You have to have the bike, like that turn has to be done. You got to be able to drive and steer and go. So if you look at my data, I'll show you, I took all these frame grabs from my data. I entered the turn, I'm leaned over, I'm in the throttle, just like Thunderhill's turn 2. I'm in the throttle, and I'm actually going a little bit slower, and I kind of plateau at a speed throughout. But then I get to a point where, like again, the 3/4 mark of this turn, where I suddenly go off the throttle. In the onboard footage, you can actually hear it. Some laps, you can actually hear the throttle. It's like, so I'm full lean like this, and that turns crazy how far you can lean. I always feel like I'm going to fall off the bike, but I don't fall off. I don't know how. You almost feel like your elbow's going to touch, and you're not elbow going to touch because you're sticking out like a monkey. Like you're actually that far leaned over. So I don't want to be driving like that, right? You don't want to be, you're leaned over so far and you're turning, which is great, but you can't start accelerating at that point. So you got to finish the turning. So what I do is going around, crack off the throttle for a moment. And at that moment, when I'm off the throttle, that's when I do like this last little final bit of churning force, and then stand the bike up and start to drive off immediately. So it's like idle throttle, drive out. So that's again a place where I pick a slow point. Now, this brings me to one point that I sometimes talk about, where I say, don't be greedy. Don't ride greedy. And you think that I mean like, oh, don't try to go too fast, or what I mean is, if you ride greedy, in my view, you never want to give up 1 mile per hour. Like you feel like, I can roll at 80 miles an hour through this turn at this angle, and this is great, and I worked really hard to get here, and I'm not going to slow down 1 mile per hour. No way. Well, you're just screwing yourself, because you can't turn at that 80 miles an hour. I don't think you can. I pass a lot of people who ride that way because they tie themselves in knots at the exit, because they never actually picked a slow spot, a slow point, like Kenny Roberts said years and years ago, to get that turn done. They just, and then the exit comes and they're going wide and they can't really drive that hard. Behind them, I'll be waiting, crack off the throttle, turn the bike, and drive out underneath them. We could talk talk about passing in another video if you want. I like to do that actually because it's really strategic and what you do and how you control your bike. It's not always the best way to get through a turn. It's a lot of times it's the best way to get around someone, which is not the best way to make the turn. But you got to pass people. That's what racing's all about. So it's really cool strategy. But following somebody at like a track day or something who never picks a slow point, it's very easy to pass them because they're not going to be fast. It's not the way to go fast. It's not the way to ride efficient. It's not the way to ride safe. There's a much better way. It's not always about how fast you go. Sometimes it's about how slow you go and exactly where and exactly why. Ride proactively. In your mind, stop yourself anywhere. Just think about where you are, why you're there, and what you're doing next. That's the way to ride fast. I'm Gogo for Superduked.com. Be safe, but be fast.